And we're back on WGN-TV Political Report. If Illinois' primary elections taught us one thing, it's that the party of Trump is here to stay, even in the deep blue land of Lincoln. Mary Miller, Darren Bailey defeated more traditional Republicans up and down the ticket. So how did they go from Mitt Romney to Donald Trump in just a few short years? Well, my next guest is a writer-at-large for The Bulwark. He worked for Jeb Bush in 2016, the RNC during the 2012 presidential campaign, and his new book is called Why We Did It, a travelogue from the Republican Road to Hell. And it's #2 on the New York Times bestseller list. Tim Miller joins us this morning to talk more about it. Tim, congratulations. Welcome to the show.
Hey, it's still crazy to hear that. Thanks for having me.
Well, that's why I wanted to say it. And I've read the book cover to cover, but for people, my viewers who may not be familiar with you, can you briefly tell me who was Tim Miller before the Trump years, and now who is Tim Miller?
Yeah, sure. I was a Republican communicator, turned maybe Republican hatchet man, you might call me. I was the type of person you'd hire to do rapid response, work with the media, smear our political foes. And I worked on a couple of presidential campaigns, kind of rose my way up the ranks, ending, as you mentioned, as the communications director for Jeb Bush's campaign and traveled the road with him during that very dramatic primary in 2016 when we ran into the Trumpian buzzsaw. And it was basically after that I got asked if I would use my hitman, hatchet man skills on behalf of this Republican PAC against Trump, kind of the precursor to the Lincoln Project. Back then it was called Our Principles PAC. And I was the spokesperson for that PAC against Trump. Seemed like a no-brainer to me. I didn't think that the country was possibly going to elect this crazy person. And boy, was I wrong on that one. So I ended up, leaving and supporting Hillary in the general election while everybody else that was on the quote-unquote Our Principles PAC started a new PAC to support Donald Trump. Getting good graces of the party. So that's politics for you.
And so we're going to go deeper into all of what you just said. But first, I have to touch base on the Highland Park tragedy because that's very close to home here this week. Republicans recently agreed to some moderate modifications in the world of gun reform. Is your sense that issue runs so deep that we're not going to see anything more? Or do you think we can expect more out of Congress?
I'm not sure that we're going to expect more out of Congress, but boy, I think that a lot of Republicans in Washington are out of touch with where their voters are on this issue. I grew up about a mile from Columbine and kind of have had my views have evolved quite a bit on this to being more open to gun reform from back, when I was, held more of the NRA line in my younger days. And I think that is a trajectory that a lot of people have gone on. And this is not to say that we want mass confiscation of guns, but that there should be reasonable rules. One thing isn't relevant for Highland Park, but Uvalde and Buffalo, both of those massacres were committed by people who legally bought guns at the age of 18, legally bought AR-15s. It is not a popular position, even among Republican voters, to allow 18-year-old high school students to buy assault rifles. If you look at the polls, if you look at focus groups, at the Bulwark, we do focus groups of Republican voters. There are some people that have hardline views on this, but even a lot of Republicans and almost all Democrats would support reforms to raise the age limit for purchasing, high-capacity weapons and magazines. So things like that, I think, could get done if the Republican politicians had the courage to go there. And, this is evidenced by Florida. Florida made a lot of changes when Rick Scott was governor, and the voters didn't object to it. So I'm hopeful there could be more, but I'm not optimistic that there's going to be a lot of courage in the Republican caucus.
So the first part of your book, you go after yourself, even open the book by saying America would have never gotten into this mess if it weren't for me and my friends, which I think might have been a clear the conscience thing, but you do name names. What people are hoping to read when they read this is, okay, you will tell us what it is that happened to folks that sent them into that world, but you don't really have the answers, do you?
Well, I think that it's because there's a lot of different answers. I think that for different people, they went with Trump and went along with Trump for different reasons. But I think there are a lot of themes, a lot of trends. You look at somebody like Lindsey Graham, Reince Priebus. Lindsey Graham has admitted this himself. He says that my desire for relevance, for being in the mix, was greater than my antipathy for Trump. And this is crazy. I tell the story about when Lindsey Graham was in a New York bar with me late into the night, ranting about how Trump was a bigot and was going to ruin the country when he was off camera. And yet here he is sucking up to Trump in public because he wanted to be relevant. I think this addiction to relevance, to being in the room where it happens, is endemic in Washington, particularly in Republican Washington. And I think that's one example. Another one that I bring up, I was shocked when I interviewed a lot of my friends friends who were like me, kind of moderate centrist Republicans, asking, why did you go along with Trump? Why'd you go along with Trump? A lot of them have developed this deep well of hatred for the left, for the mainstream media, for woke culture, quote unquote. And I think that they've been feel so aggrieved by this elite culture that it essentially forced them to go in league with a person that they knew was dangerous, that they knew was out of line with them on a variety of issues. I go through a couple other categories like that, but those were the two that really stuck out.
Yeah, fascinating stuff. And, I want to we're about out of time, but I wanted to ask you, you have a daughter, young daughter, and so fast forward a few years when she reads this book, understands it, comes to Dad with questions. What do you want her to ask you? What do you want her to know?
Well, I tried to be as honest as I could with this book, and the dedications to my daughter, I said I'm trying real hard to be the shepherd, which is the last line of Pulp Fiction. But what I want her to know is that, over the course of life, you face moral and ethical challenges. And a lot of times we tell ourselves these stories to go along with the easy path, to go along with the comforting path. And I did that. And I'm trying to own up to that. And I'm hoping that if my daughter reads this book, that she would look at it and say, next time I face a moral quandary, rather than doing what the easy thing is, rather than going along with the group, I can see the benefit, the lessons learned from my father's life.
All right.
That the right thing to do is to do the right thing instead.
Tim Miller, thanks. Sorry that we have to cut short. Always upsetting, but the book is Why We Did It. It's #2 on the bestseller list. Pick up a copy. Thank you, sir, for joining me. I appreciate your time.
Thanks, brother.
All right, one more break. A look ahead at the week ahead after this.